Hello everyone, today we sail into one of the most chilling mysteries ever recorded at sea, the legend of the SS Ourang Medan, a ghost ship whose entire crew died under strange and horrifying circumstances. Their bodies were found sprawled across the decks, faces frozen in terror, mouths wide open as if screaming at something unseen. No one survived, and the ship itself later vanished in an explosion, leaving behind only rumors, speculation, and unanswered questions. Was it a cover-up, a deadly experiment gone wrong, or something beyond human understanding? Let's dive deep into this haunting mystery that continues to baffle researchers to this day. The story begins in the late 1940s, somewhere in the waters of the Straits of Malacca, a busy shipping route between Sumatra and Malaysia. Ships passing through the area reportedly received distress calls in Morse code. The message was chilling. All officers, including captain, are dead, lying in chart room and bridge, possibly whole crew dead. After a pause, another message followed, I die, then silence. Nearby vessels rushed to respond to the distress signal. Among them was an American merchant ship called the Silver Star. Using radio triangulation, they managed to locate the source of the distress call, the SS Ourang Medan. When the Silver Star crew approached, they saw the ship drifting aimlessly, with no signs of activity on deck. The atmosphere was ominous. No crew members appeared to acknowledge their presence, and the silence was unnerving. Boarding parties were sent to investigate, and what they found was horrifying. The crew of the Ourang Medan lay dead, their bodies scattered across the decks and in cabins. Even the radio operator who had sent the distress call was dead at his station. Each corpse displayed the same grotesque expression, eyes wide open, mouths agape in silent screams, arms outstretched as if fending off an invisible attacker. Some accounts claimed the bodies showed no signs of injury, no wounds, no blood, nothing that could explain such sudden and widespread death. Even animals aboard the ship were found dead. Reports mention a dog frozen in mid-growl, teeth bared at something no one else could see. The ship itself was in eerie condition. No sign of struggle, no damage, no fire, and no evidence of poisoning. The crew had simply died in place as though struck down by an unseen hand. The Silver Star crew, unnerved but determined to solve the mystery, decided to tow the Ourang Medan to port. But before they could make much progress, smoke began rising from the ghost ship's lower decks. A fire quickly spread, forcing the rescuers to cut their ropes and retreat. Moments later, the Ourang Medan exploded in a massive blast, sinking into the depths and taking its horrifying secrets with it. The mystery of the SS Ourang Medan has since become one of the most debated ghost ship stories in maritime history. Skeptics argue that the tale is exaggerated or even fabricated, while believers insist that the details point to something deeply sinister. The fact that the ship itself was destroyed makes it nearly impossible to verify what truly happened, and the lack of official documentation only adds to the enigma. Theories about the fate of the Ourang Medan crew abound. Some suggest that carbon monoxide, poisoning from a malfunctioning boiler system, suffocated the crew, though this does not explain the frozen looks of terror on their faces. Others argue that the crew may have been transporting dangerous chemicals or biological weapons, and accidental exposure led to their horrifying deaths. Still others turn to the paranormal, suggesting the involvement of ghosts, sea monsters, or even extraterrestrial beings. The phrase "I die," supposedly the last words transmitted by the radio operator, adds an extra layer of chilling finality. It suggests that the operator was aware of death approaching in those final moments, yet unable to explain what was happening. What kind of horror grips a man so completely that his last words are simply an acknowledgement of his own death? To this day, the SS Ourang Medan remains shrouded in mystery. There are no clear records of the ship's registration, its crew list, or its cargo manifest. Some historians claim that the ship never existed at all, and that the entire story was an urban legend spread in maritime circles. But others argue that the consistency of accounts, and the fact that the tale first surfaced in multiple newspapers across different countries, lends credibility to the story. What we do know is that ghost ship mysteries like this one capture our imagination because they touch on our deepest fears: death without explanation, ships adrift without life, and the ocean swallowing evidence before truth can be found. The SS Ourang Medan is not just a tale of a doomed crew. It is a story about the limits of human knowledge and the eternal mysteries of the sea. The legend of the SS Ourang Medan lingers not only because of its chilling details, but also because of the unanswered questions surrounding the incident. With no surviving crew, no official records, and the ship itself lost to the sea, investigators have had to rely on speculation, scattered reports, and theories that range from the scientific to the supernatural. One of the most widely discussed explanations is that the crew was the victim of chemical poisoning. The theory suggests that the ship may have been secretly transporting hazardous cargo, such as potassium cyanide, nitroglycerin, or even nerve agent. If containers of these chemicals leaked, the toxic fumes could have spread quickly through the ship, killing the crew. This would explain the lack of physical injuries, but it does not account for the grotesque expressions of fear and pain etched on the sailors' faces. Normally, chemical poisoning causes convulsions, but the frozen look of terror reported by rescuers seems far more dramatic than what is typically observed. A related theory argues that the ship was part of a secret military operation. The late 1940s were a tense period, with the Cold War emerging and nations racing to develop biological and chemical weapons. Some researchers believe the Ourang Medan was a covert vessel transporting dangerous experimental weapons, perhaps for the United States or another power. If such materials leaked, the crew would have died quickly, and the subsequent explosion may have been the result of those unstable chemicals igniting. The lack of registration or clear records of the ship could support this idea, as governments might have deliberately erased the evidence to cover up an embarrassing or dangerous incident. But for many, the horror of the crew's death cries out for a more dramatic explanation. Paranormal enthusiasts have suggested that the ship fell victim to supernatural forces. The expressions of terror, the suddenness of death, and the lack of physical injuries fit stories of ghostly encounters. Could the Ourang Medan have crossed paths with something otherworldly, a vengeful spirit, a cursed artifact, or an invisible entity that drove the crew to madness and death? Some even speculate that the ship was haunted before it ever set sail, carrying with it a dark history that doomed everyone aboard. Another angle takes us out of this world entirely. Some UFO researchers claim the Ourang Medan might have encountered extraterrestrial forces. The terrified expressions, the sudden deaths, and the absence of wounds mirror stories of people allegedly struck down by alien energy or unexplainable radiation. The cryptic final words, "I die," could hint at the radio operator experiencing something utterly beyond comprehension, something that cannot be put into words. While this theory may seem far-fetched, it persists because the other explanations also leave gaps. Skeptics, however, insist that the story of the Ourang Medan is nothing more than a maritime legend. They point out the lack of concrete evidence, no official documentation of the ship's existence, no photographs, and no surviving wreckage. The earliest written accounts of the story surfaced in newspapers and magazines in the early 1950s, several years after the supposed event. This delay fuels suspicion that the tale was an invention, perhaps a sailor's yarn that grew with each retelling until it took on a life of its own. According to this perspective, the Ourang Medan may never have existed at all. But if it was just a legend, why does it feel so real? The chilling distress call, the vivid descriptions of the dead crew, and the dramatic explosion that erased the ship all carry the weight of truth. Some historians believe that while details may have been exaggerated, the story was based on a real incident that became obscured by rumor and secrecy. In this sense, the Ourang Medan might be both fact and legend, a real tragedy embellished into a myth. The ocean has always been a place of mystery. Countless ships have vanished without explanation, and countless others have been found adrift with no crew, their fates unknown. The Ourang Medan fits into this long tradition of ghost ship stories, standing alongside tales like the Mary Celeste. Yet it stands apart for one reason: the horror etched on the faces of its crew. Fear is not easily faked, and the descriptions of the sailors' expressions suggest they witnessed something truly terrifying in their final moments. The last words, "I die," may hold the greatest clue. Simple, stark, and chilling, they encapsulate the entire mystery. If the radio operator had time to send that final message, it means death was not instantaneous. He knew it was coming, yet he gave no explanation, no description, only the acknowledgement of his own end. It was as if words failed him, as if what he saw or felt could not be expressed in human language. In the years since, the legend of the SS Ourang Medan has captured the imagination of storytellers, researchers, and conspiracy theorists alike. Books, documentaries, and online forums continue to dissect the case, each new retelling breathing life into the ghost ship's story. Some believe the truth will never be found, lost forever when the ship exploded and sank. Others hold out hope that hidden records or forgotten testimonies may one day surface, shedding light on what really happened. But perhaps the enduring power of the Ourang Medan lies not in finding the truth, but in embracing the mystery. The ocean is vast, deep, and unknowable. It hides secrets that humans may never uncover. The Ourang Medan is a symbol of that vastness, a reminder that not everything can be explained, that some stories remain just beyond our reach. As long as sailors tell tales and humans fear the unknown, the SS Ourang Medan will sail forever in our imaginations, a ghost ship drifting through history, its crew forever locked in silent screams, warning us of dangers we cannot see.